I just didn't want to say anything at first to see how you guys reacted. Uh, Muffin started falling asleep, and Mark was visibly irritated. So you passed the test. You passed the vibe check, as the kids say. Good evening, fantasy foot boys and girls. Welcome to a very special GLFFL Pre-wind, in which we are going to look back forward at this week and this week in the GLFFL. My explanation of what this is ever changing. Jacob, can you hear me? You kind of look like you can't hear
Yeah,
me. Okay, you're,
no,
you're thinking
I
real
can
hard.
hear you. I was trying to look up because on the screen it
Yeah,
looks like
and
I'm looking up at you.
so I'm looking at like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah,
So my
yeah.
camera's here. Focus. But I'm looking at you guys over here. I get it. You kind of have to just ignore the fact that there's a camera there, and not be
Mm.
so photogenic. It looks like the stream is
I
working.
I can nail that.
Let me. Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
audio's working. The
Oh,
audio's
good.
working. Okay, I
Okay.
can close that so my computer won't crash. Um, but I got the three of us together for what? It's the semifinal. It's the playoffs. It's Jacob's first foray into the second round, I would assume. I honestly don't know, and I would have no way of knowing. Is that true?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I've never made the playoffs in
Congrats.
my 2 seasons that I've been here. This
wait.
being the
Well, this is
second
your
season.
third season, right?
No, I think it's only 2 seasons I've been
I
here.
need
There's no way in
I need
knowing.
this. Well, okay,
Oh,
we'll
no
check
way.
once we dive into the stats. We'll check that. So let's go back to
Yeah.
that. Um, anyways,
I'm a
welcome to the
Lakers.
playoffs and or the semifinal. But here's what we do in this show. Well, first of all, how are you guys?
Doing good. Didn't lose this week. That felt nice.
Mm, in a way, you
What else
did
on mind?
though, because
In a way, I did.
the only thing most of us were playing for this week was $20,
Hmm.
except for those that were competing for the next round. And the
Yeah.
rest of us lost, which we'll get to that as well.
I'm
Um,
tired.
yeah, nobody cares. So let's go ahead and jump in and look at week 15, first round of the playoffs. We're going to try to power through this before Jacob melts into his seat.
Okay.
There it is. I thought for a second my computer froze. Let's let's start with our consolation bracket. No, obviously there nobody did anything of note because they weren't competing. Bye. Um, let's start with Cooter's Crew Noon Approved Jungle Humpers. Despite the 7-7 versus 10-4 record, this was the most evenly matched of the two, in my opinion. New and improved Jungle Humpers takes it home. They boom. I've described them as boom or bust all season.
Mhm.
They boomed. Cooter's Crew, not a bad game, but busted. And new and improved Jungle Humpers is moving on. What say you, Jacob? What say you,
I'm
Mark?
looking at that. How do you say that guy's name? Kiwana? Kwan Jennings? How do you say that name? The wide
Juwan
receiver
Jennings?
for Jawan? I'm looking at
It sounds like
Jawan
you
at
were trying to
his
say
bench.
Juana Man, like the movie.
Yeah.
I look at his bench and it looks like Keenan Allen. If he would have put him in, that would have definitely helped.
He still would have
Had him
lost. I
playing.
don't worry. I checked when I was looking for our pregrets.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, new and improved Jungle Humpers, you summed it up. They're boom or bust. So they had a good game, and I hope they have another good game. Like back-to-back weeks of just really solid games, high score games.
Mark, if you go back and then you click on the matchup, yes, like just like on the middle. then you can expand and look at both of their bench at the same time. But yeah, I did note Keenan Allen was an option for him, but it would not have changed things. He would have had to find someone and out on the waiver wire to turn the tide. A solid season by Cooter's crew. I think also his second or third season, maybe third. Maybe he's the one I was thinking of when I accused you of being in the league for three seasons. But yeah, it
Various
just
stats.
honestly, I think his downfall here was the usage of Saquon Barkley. He made one of the more evenly balanced trades on the season, in my
Hmm.
opinion. It helped balance out the Schmidt Show's roster, and it gave him some star power at running back. And
Yeah,
his usage against Pittsburgh was baffling. It didn't have that many carries, no, didn't have any goal line touches, wasn't being used in the passing game. He just needed that big game from Saquon to put him back in it.
which
But
Saquon has been doing this all season. Like,
yeah,
we're putting up big points. We have a couple, games where it's not there, but
that's what happens
for
when
the
you're on
amount
a
of points that he's put up this season, yeah,
that's what happens when you're on a good team. Sometimes it's a blowout and they don't give you the ball any further, and that's what happened here.
I need to go back and compare Saquon to Alvin Kamara. Um, I mean, 44 points. Kamara's not going to make that up, but I'm curious, like the number of points that each of them have put up, because Alvin Kamara and Sam Darnold were a part of this trade for Saquon Barkley that I gave up.
And Sam Darnold's was similar. He had some
Yeah.
very up and down weeks, which
Yeah,
has been the MO of his career. But for the first time, he's on a really good team, so it doesn't really matter. He's had some
Yeah.
horrible, god awful games that they've won because they are just a well
yeah.
structured, well coached team. But new and improved Jungle Humpers, they win the prize of facing the 12-2 Life Finds Our Way, but we will get to that in a bit. Next, let's look at Patty Cake's Timken Terrors. This one was closer than I expected and had
Yeah.
and I'll just go ahead and say it. My pre-grade of the week was Jameson Williams sitting on the bench of Patty Cakes. Had the better matchup of between Waddle and him, I believe, and he still went with Waddle, and that was his downfall. If he just switches those guys, he's moving on. And despite the efforts of MVP candidate, division leader, and top five fantasy quarterback Baker Mayfield, Jacob's favorite quarterback, not named Pat Mahomes. That he did it. He did his best, but you can't overcome Josh Allen putting up 42 points, almost 42 points.
Jesus Christ.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was
Again,
it
another
his
banger week.
Hey,
biggest game of the season? It has to be, right?
it's
Oh
no,
no,
No.
last week
Last week.
52. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
and that
Yeah.
I highlight these stats when we get to my holy shit stats of the week when we get there. But yeah, he's been nuclear his last couple starts. But again, with them, they play a really bad team, and he's also had some not down weeks, but um, weeks that they haven't needed him to throw a whole
Yeah.
bunch because they've just
You know,
been in it or out of it. What's that,
looking
Jacob?
at this a little deeper, look at the quarterback matchup between Brock Purdy and Jameis Winston.
Oh no,
Jameis
I
almost, it was like, I'm going to fuck you over, Timken.
you want to know what's even better is that I was going to say is somehow is Will Levis going to end up being the pre-grid of the week? He was not because he ended up with he's not on his roster now. I don't believe. Oh, he still is.
Yeah.
Negative 4.5 points. So if he had started him, he might have actually lost. It would have put him in a bigger minus. That's pretty amazing
Ooh, yeah.
quarterback matchup to be a net between two quarterbacks that were projected to get over 30 points combined. They net just 3.5 points. That's pathetic.
Unbelievable.
You know what would be even worse is if you
Unbelievable.
took Brock Purdy in like the second round of the fantasy football draft.
Hey, it's still a great season for patty cakes.
It was he
Yeah.
overperformed. I think he is now. We'll look at the stat sheet in a bit. He might now be. No, he's definitely not the lowest scoring team. I think there was no way for him to catch Doobie Ashtray, who is literally living the ashtray this season. But he was the second lowest scoring team this season. Still managed to make the playoffs, go 9-5. Didn't win a
Yeah,
playoff game. The only
he
other thing I
did.
wanted to note this week: the two teams that didn't need scoring were the two highest scoring teams of the week. The two teams on bye, and eking it out for $20. His first $20 of the year. Drunk Santa. Uh, I
Congratulations.
would like to. I would like to hear you say a word to your team and thanking them for that $20.
I just really want to take a moment and just say thank you so much to all these people who don't know me for real money, like real $20, real cash. Thank you for performing. And I also want to say thank you to the commissioner here because you could have easily rigged it. You could have easily went in, changed some shit up, and gave yourself the high score, and you did not. Honorable mention to you, commish.
I'd
So
like you to show me
actually,
how
let's
I
talk.
would do that because I want to know how to do that because I would like to do that. Rig it. Can you
Just
tell me how to do
you're the
it?
commish. You're the commish. I'm jailbreak it. You can get it.
Jailbreak
YouTube
it.
it.
YouTube it. Okay. So like I got to call the coach for the players, or I'm just not putting two and two
Yeah, you
together.
just all you would have had to do is like move James Conner, into Kyron Williams' spot and uh, smoke that out even higher.
Here's the thing:
Mm-hmm.
if I knew how to do that, the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, you would be able to see that I did that. So I
Really,
don't know.
because
Yes.
from history, like apparently someone else has done that before in this league.
Well, that was in the archaic days of Yahoo, and I'm pretty sure they overlooked that about 10, 12 years ago. Don't think it can be done anymore, and I'm not one to try to find out. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Well,
but let's not
We
milk this
we
20 fucking dollars anymore. You're never going to see it. It's going right back into the pot because you got to pay your league dues. Okay, moving on. Let's look at week 16 in the semifinal. Congrats to the two winners. You guys go move on. Oh wait, hang on. I got to look at my rundown here and make sure we're on track.
okay.
High
What's
score. Oh,
the what?
I guess we could talk about the high score standings. That is now the seventh different team that has had a high score this year. Well, I think it's which is higher than normal. Usually, you're only going to see like four or five because you consistently have the same
Mhm.
few high scoring teams, the best teams in the league, taking all of those high scores, and nine of those have gone to the two teams matching up this week. New and improved Jungle Humpers, Lifelines away. But you have Timken with two, Drunk Santa getting in there at one, Schmidt Show at one, Cooter's Crew at one, Robo Pearson at one. Somehow Robo Pearson
Robo
snuck in there
Pearson. I
at
love
3 and
Yeah,
that he
11.
won it too.
I feel like this season has been a lot more balanced than some seasons
Yeah,
um, across the board, which has been really fun for this year.
I think
You
that
know,
is prescriptive of the NFL this year. Is that you have
I was gonna
Jamar
say as
Chase
well.
having a fat season, but you don't have a running back putting up 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. It's pretty even across the board.
Yeah, and remember, I think if you look it up, I don't know if it is now the last 2 weeks with the like scoring, but scoring's been way down. Like especially at the beginning of the season, I think offenses weren't jiving as well, so points weren't as high. So it really was kind of evenly matched because it wasn't a big output for teams.
Well, let's. I already spoke about the pre-grits. Let's actually go to the stat sheet if we could. We'll make this our stat segment. Um, But before we get into the league stats, I do want to note my oh shit stat of the week. So we talked about Josh Allen going nuclear his last three games. Uh, his last three starts, 121.58 fantasy points for 40.52 points per game. I wanted to compare that with Will Levis's last 13 starts. 13, that is, 10 fewer. He has 115.23 fantasy points. So it's taken Will Levis 13 games, and he still has failed to outscore Josh Allen's last three games. That's 8.86 points per game. And when I went back and looked at those stats, I think he had 4 or 5 games in which he had finished with negative points, which honestly, that's more impressive than Josh Allen's blow ups.
It is. It is.
I don't, do you think I could do
Pay the
that?
man.
They put
Pay
me
the man.
in, pay the man. I think,
Long term contract. Pay him 20 million a year.
you know what? The way that those quarterback contracts have been going, I wouldn't be surprised. What's his name in Jacksonville? He came out and he was like, I'm going to have the most mediocre season of all time and get paid $45 million a year. And by
Oh
God, he did
Lord.
it.
And he doesn't even have to play the rest of the season.
Okay, let's look at the stat sheet. Week 15, scoring, I'd say that's probably above average across the
Yep.
league. So you won an above the average week, Jacob. Congratulations. But the reason I
Thanks.
wanted to bring us over to the stat sheet is because I'm reigniting some historical records. And specifically, there was a record that was broken a few weeks ago, and I didn't highlight it because I hadn't been tracking. But I went back, I updated it. That would be the longest losing streak in the league's 20-year history. That
What?
goes to Doobie Ashtray, which this is the dichotomy of the of fantasy football. He comes in first season, possibly the best season in league history. Now he's in the record books again with the worst season in league history. Truly impressive.
He really is setting records no matter what happens. So really bad to really good.
Do you think this was calculated? He did this on purpose?
It makes you wonder because how do you go from like just jiving so well to being like, you know what? No, I don't need any of those guys. I'm going to take these dudes.
And I was
Second
And
really,
string.
it's been pretty quiet in the Discord trash chat
yeah.
this year, which
He
Yeah.
his first year, he was about to break Discord. Their servers couldn't keep up.
He had to like
and
get a new enter button. He
I
was
remember
posting daily.
very specifically him calling out all of the faults of
Yeah,
every single team
I
of
remember
why
that.
they were trash.
Yeah,
You
And
know,
it's
I
just
remember
been like dead silent this year.
imagine what
I
that
remember that.
version of Devin would say to this version of Devin. He would
Can we
probably
get
call
that?
for, yeah, he would probably call for his execution, public execution.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could just dump all of his shit talking into AI and have it build a rebuttal to himself.
A new a new Devin. Let's get a
Yeah,
new one.
he
I mean,
has
he's claimed
5,
4 of the 5, worst scores of 2024,
and I guarantee if we were
minus
to
one from Pearson.
classic Robo Pearson, the highs and lows of the game. I guarantee if we expanded that to like the 15 lowest scores, he would have most of those too. So we
I can do
we
that.
love you, Devin. We're just I was hoping you would go for that trophy this year, in one way or another, but it hasn't been his season. He could
Mm,
still technically win the trophy. You can win for any reason.
yeah,
Except he has it. So, right? So would he give it to himself?
No, the current trophy
no,
holder is
he
Patty
doesn't have it.
Takes
Oh,
Patty
Slayton.
gotcha.
takes, yeah. Because he drafted Derrick Henry. I remember this because I gave it to him, right?
You gave it to him. He
Didn't I
did.
give
He
it to
never
him?
posted a single
He
time
drafted
in Discord.
he drafted he drafted Derrick Henry, and
Number
then he
one.
benched him one number one overall, and then he benched him one game where Derrick Henry went off for like 20 points, he would have won that week. I don't know. It was one justification I had. There was a couple others, but
Well, the other one was that he
um,
never posted a single
he
time in
didn't trade.
Discord.
He, he didn't trade. He didn't do some trade
Oh, that
one
was with
time.
me. So on
Didn't
the
look.
at the trade
He just didn't
deadline.
look.
Well, no. Wait, this is what happened. I'll provide some clarity here. We were texting. We worked out a trade. I was like, okay, we agreed to it. I sent it to him, and he fell asleep. And then the trade deadline went past, and so he kind of had some draft picks. I think I'm pretty sure there was draft picks involved.
What an unbelievable trophy winner.
You know
Yeah,
what?
yeah, I'll do it.
I will say, Devin did get himself a fourth round pick, which is probably the highest draft pick traded in like 8 years or so, and it's
Yeah.
mine. So you know what? You're winning the little battles, Devin. Um, but I wanted to highlight that that record was broken. Um, any stats you guys want to
And long
highlight? This,
standing too.
yes, over
14
what,
years.
14 years.
Yeah.
But the
Jeez,
league
Louise.
statisticians, Coach Schmidt, any stats you would like to highlight here? Anything you would trends? Anything you would like to talk about?
Really, the only thing is that, like looking at the weekly average, we kind of started off hot and then it just kind of evened out. But it has been growing toward the end of the season to these like 130s, 120 pluses, which is kind of crazy to see, especially.
The only one that I look at, but he's a starter now, is Cooper Rush, and Cooper is pretty decent for what he is, But it's like I can't remember who he had before. If he had,
Jameis Winston, who got him
oh,
negative points. So I would say there's probably not a lot of players you could pick up off the waiver wire that are
he's
going to do worse.
well, Jameis. Didn't they bench him? Isn't it that other guy's in there now who's
Yes, who
probably gonna
is
start?
worse, who's not as good as Jameis. So I would like, it's going to be curious how Jerry Judy does. Is Jerry
Yeah,
Judy on Tim Terrors? Yes,
yeah,
he is. I think he's going to
yep.
hurt with this because he has been going absolutely insane. And a big part of that
Gangbusters.
is
Yeah.
because Jameis just targets the shit out of him. And DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson, bless him, not a very good quarterback. I'm I'm sniffing. I think they're going to score like, well, Cincinnati's defense has been bad. They're not going to score much.
Yeah. We'll see. It'll be an interesting matchup. I mean, it honestly, whoever comes out of this one, I think deserves to go
It,
to the ship. So
yeah, the
I,
bones of
I
his team.
That makes complete sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Ricky. I think the bones of his team, Josh Allen, um, Jamar Chase, and Derrick Henry, those three guys, if all three of them hit, then I think you're in some danger. Otherwise, I think this
Yeah,
is a
and
pretty even matchup.
especially if Cooper Cup lands me a zero egg like he did this past week. With he didn't have one catch,
Which is,
which was very interesting.
it is interesting considering their offense has been amazing the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
but Puka has been a huge driver,
That was the rain
and
game, though. Also, I actually didn't get to watch that
yeah,
game, but I did hear that it was raining, no touchdowns. That had a 50 some point over under. That game ended up with 18 total points.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So anyway, interesting. We'll see.
that is going to be a tough one. I would say that's
Yeah,
you're going to have to ask Chat GPT who to start between him and JSN.
all AI it.
Okay, well, even though you like to look at projections, I think that's a pretty even matchup. I think it's going to be important that you get some touchdowns from guys like Hubbard and Khalil Shakir. Any input from
All
the
right.
league statistician, Coach Schmidt?
Stats and games.
Can't argue
No,
with
I think it's
that.
going to be right. And I think whoever comes out of this, deserves to go on.
Are you okay,
No, I do
Jacob?
think it's actually a pretty fair matchup. If 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 Josh Allen goes gangbusters, like he has been, that's going to be hard to come back from. But there are some, like we've talked about, there are some potential weak spots that Timken needs them to go off. Otherwise, Jacob, you forget this 113 versus 122. That's just Yahoo numbers saying things, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's gonna be a good game. Good matchup between these two.
You really need the Bills to focus on the running the ball in that game with James Cook.
Me too. I agree. Yep.
Which may be their entire second half against New England. Am I right? Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Run it down. Get
that
no
is
one
a strong
hurt.
possibility.
I did also
Get out
hear
there.
that James Cook was thinking about retiring this week, which would be bad timing for you.
It would be, but if I need to,
All right, let's move
I
on
can
to our
put.
next matchup. Well, did you have something you wanted to say on air about my jersey because you were talking shit on it beforehand?
All right. So the next matchup is Life Finds Elway versus new and improved Oklahoma.
Okay, what I'll say in this one is I have some good matchups for a lot of my big names. Uh, the thing about new,
You
oh God,
still there? It's
um,
slowing down.
can you still hear me?
You okay?
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
I
hear
I can
you.
hear you.
my my
It's
screen just went black, and I thought maybe I accidentally put it to sleep. Everything still seems to be going.
no, it's smoking.
The thing about new and improved jungle humpers is I've described them as boom or bust all year, which is what their team is. They can score a lot of points, they can let them down, and they scare me for that reason alone. Because he can go off. I can have a nice solid week this week, and he could put up 170 if he feels like it. If he doesn't want
Right.
to, he doesn't have to. What do you guys think?
Yeah, he's probably gonna go off.
Yeah. What?
Um,
Here's
it is
the.
interesting.
Here's
If
my
you're wearing a
question.
Broncos
How
jersey, do you want Bo Nix to do bad? Like, do you want him just to be real bad? Maybe get hurt?
No.
Not permanent. It's like maybe he just can't play the rest of this game.
Bo Nix
As
is
a
going to get
Broncos fan,
him, 12 to 20 points because of his rushing. The thing about the Chargers, though, is that all of their games are just slow, lots of running, boring. But I would be happy to see him go off this week, even if it's against me.
So yeah, how do you feel about this lineup right here? Because you've got, like you said, Bo Nix somewhere between 12 and 20, but Joe Burrow being possibly questionable.
Oh, he's been questionable all year, and he's been
His
limited.
haircut's been questionable.
why aren't
What?
you starting Aaron Rodgers over him then?
Um, over Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is the QB3 on the season, so or four maybe. He's three or
There's no way of
four.
knowing
But I'm just saying
that. I don't know.
they've been the Bengals defense sucks, so he's had to throw a lot, which has been good for me. But if you'll go to the benches, the thing that found interesting, I wanted to set my lineup before this. The thing that I found interesting is I came to the decision to bench both Kyron and AJ Brown this week just because of the better matchups from other players. Which, if you would have told me I'd be benching those two players in the semifinal, I would have castrated myself on the spot.
It's going to be interesting to see
Still
how
can.
that screws
Okay,
you over, and then how you do it.
I know it's
So which of those two do you think are going to be your pre-grid of the week
Yeah, which
next
one?
week
probably AJ Brown
as
if
you
I was going to
lose?
have to pick between the two of them. I traded for him. Washington's secondary has been better, but you never know with
And
the Eagles' offense how he's going to be used.
his strength of season has been excellent, but
But he's
you
injured
know
oft.
Yeah.